Hello everybody, welcome back to Papa's Saw Shop. I'm Papa, and today I want to do something a little bit different. I always say that, we always do something a little bit different around here. Um, I'm not using a little clicker today, so I'll have to pick up the camera with my hands, so we got that going for us, or not going for us. But today, I got a bunch of stuff laid out here to show you. I want to talk about gas. I want to talk about two-cycle gas, two-cycle oil, and gas mix. Okay, and this I've seen a lot of videos on about the best gas to use, the best oil to use as far as two-cycle stuff, and you've heard me talk about AMSOIL, that we sell AMSOIL here, and I always shoot you straight. Okay, I always try to give everybody 100%. Okay, so even though I'm an AMSOIL dealer, I don't always recommend AMSOIL. Sorry out there to AMSOIL, but I mean it's good stuff. I mean really, really is good stuff. And the reason I sell AMSOIL here at the shop is because it's pretty much the best I've found so far. But and if I found something better, I'd be a dealer for that, But I do sell some cheap stuff here, some I would call over the counter, lesser grade, whatever. I want to show you some of that here too. AMSOIL is a full synthetic oil, and so that's what I want to concentrate on. Okay, not AMSOIL, the name so much. But kind of the differences and what gas really is, and what is the oil that you're putting into it? What happens to it when it sits around for a while? Why does it happen to it? And I will bet that at least 90% of you are going to get it wrong for what happens when gas sits around and why. So, without further ado, let's get on with this. Now, I've set up some pretty cool stuff to show you here. Let me change the camera around here. Gotta grab this thing, and you get my dirty bench. All right, so first of all, to get this stuff started, this is regular gas, okay? Now, we're going to do something kind of weird to this regular gas. I'm going to open this up. Now, I have this thing half full. And if you get a little jar like this is, I'm going to show you how we test to see if it's clear gas or not. Okay, so by looking at this, you can't really tell. Is that regular gas or clear gas? Does it have ethanol in it? Okay, well, to find out, we're going to see how much water is in this thing. Now I'm going to get out my trusty old water cup here. What we're going to do is oh doggone it, I got to get my cap off. Give me a second here. All right. So what we're going to do is we're going to add some water to this gas. Watch this. Now it's already 50% of fuel. So we're going to add 50% water. Okay. Now, here's what happens. Now, when you say ethanol, the horrible parts about ethanol, yada 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 yada. Okay, well, ethanol does one thing: it attracts water. Ethanol will attract water, and so if you've got a saw that you're going to have sitting somewhere and you're going to put regular gas in it and then you're just going to leave it sit, well, having ethanol is probably not going to be good for you, because the more, now see how that's starting to separate? Now, you see where that scratch is right there? That was our fuel line. That's where the fuel was. Let me get that backed up just a little bit. So everything below that mark on the glass is water that was in the fuel. Okay, everything that's right from here on down, that's raw fuel. Okay, that would be clear fuel. That'd be clear gas. All this up here, that's all water. Okay, so what we did is we put water in here, and the water that was in the ethanol is now attracted to that water that we put in there, and it brings all that up there. It sends the fuel to the bottom, and it sends all the water that's in the fuel to the top of the fuel. And so now you can see just how much water was actually in that fuel. It's quite a bit. Okay, so that is definitely ethanol fuel. All right. Now, we do that all the time around here, and my granddaughter will test this stuff for people just to, they'll bring fuel in and they'll say, hey, is this good enough to burn my, whatever. And we'll do a quick test on it like that, and we can tell them. Generally speaking, what we say around here, anything above 5% probably is not good. Now, I don't know if that's an official whatever, but I can tell you this much. This gas that's in this jar was just purchased from the gas station, and I'm not going to say which one, but it was just purchased from the gas station just 2 days ago. So I'm pretty sure they're not advertising that much water in that gas. So, all right, now, is that bad to run in your saw because it's got that much water? Well, it certainly doesn't help. I mean, throwing water in your gas tank's not good for it at any time. Is it going to ruin it? Not really. Now, a lot of people are going to say, wait, Bob, you crossed the line. What do you mean not really? Okay. Now we're going to get into other stuff. Okay? Because if I were to say I'm going to run a tank full of fuel through this chainsaw, and I know for sure that it doesn't have one drop of water in it. Okay, well, that's fantastic. All right. But where's the limit? 2 drops, 10 drops, 5 drops? Okay, well, if it doesn't start or it runs crappy, well, you've crossed the line, But on the other hand, this is not what damages your saw. Okay? Now, let me say that again. This right here, okay, where you can see that line right there. All right, everything below that is ethanol. Ethanol is not what damages your saw in the short term. Okay, now if you mix this with 2-cycle oil and you left it in your saw, that water is still water. It's going to freeze over the winter time, or it's going to whatever, but that water will be detrimental to your equipment. But if you're going to mix 2-cycle oil in it, run it through, and it starts and it runs and everything is peachy, it certainly, there are better choices. But is that going to damage your saw with that ethanol in there? No, because that ethanol does not damage your saw. Okay, now, and I'm going to show you why, because I know there's a lot of people right now that's clenching their fists and they're going, oh, you're definitely wrong on this one, Papa. You don't know what you're talking about. All right, so let me show you. All right, so I'm going to go up here, and this is where it gets cool. All right, so I've shown you the ethanol, or basically when it breaks down, water in the fuel. This is clear fuel right here. Okay, that's what they say is, and excuse the little dirt particles in there. It's probably in the bottom of my can. Try wiping these out the best I can, but you know how that goes. So anyway, this is clear fuel. This is unadulterated. Now, I'd like to say unadulterated, nothing but fuel. I would be wrong, because generally speaking, even in clear fuel, you're going to have some stuff. You're just not going to have this stuff. Okay? Because if you ran only this, if you ran just pure fuel and nothing else in it, then you'd be running some high octane stuff. It would be really, really tough, because it has, you got to put something in there to break that fuel down. You know, it is what it is. It's fuel. And so it's flammable. And so if you don't break it down a little bit, first of all, gas and oil places, gas station, whatever, they're all in it to make money. They've got to break it down a little bit. You know, if they sold you a pure product, it would cost more. But anyway, I digress. This is clear fuel. Okay. Now this, and I'm not going to tell you whose brand this is, but this is a very popular name brand 2-cycle oil, properly mixed with clear fuel. Okay. Now you can see the difference in here, how dark that is. All right. Now, what does oil do in a 2-cycle engine? Okay, it does one thing. Its job is to lubricate. There's no oil pan, there's no excess oil laying around. And so when it gets in there, the gas has to explode to cause the power, and the oil has to lubricate and then leave. Once it lubricates, for that split second, it needs to leave. If it's this thick, you're going to have some residual. Okay, so this is a carbon-based product. Okay, what I mean by that, and that's probably the wrong verbiage, but what I mean by that is that this oil, even though it's name brand and even though it's required in some saws to run, this came from the ground. Okay, anything that comes from the ground is going to have carbon. That's just the way things are on this planet. Okay, so when we pull up oil, I don't care how fancy it is, you pull it out of the ground, it's going to have carbon. You've got to get rid of all that carbon in the engine. We all know that. Okay. This, you can guess what that is, but I'm not going to tell you. All right. That is a very popular full synthetic 2-cycle oil. Okay, and it's properly mixed in clear gas. Now you can see how much thinner this looks. All right. Now, you can run this 100 to 1. Okay, but for this I've mixed them both 50 to 1 just so that there's no discrepancy. All right, so you can see how this one is just cleaner as far as oil goes. There's just not as much. Now, does it give less lubrication? No. The reason is because you're not seeing the carbon in here. Full synthetic oil takes all the stuff that oil is made of, and it's man-made, of course, but they take all the chemicals that this is made of, and they just basically take out the carbon. So this darker stuff, whenever you see carbon, you'll say, oh, well, there's some dark stuff right there. That must be carbon. Well, you'd be right, because carbon turns things a darker color. Okay, so that's the difference. And I don't care if you're running an oil that's brown. If you're running a 2-cycle oil that's brown, you put it in there and go, boy, that sure turned that gas brown. Okay, well, because it has more carbon in it. I don't care what the label says. You know, full synthetic, half synthetic, quarter synthetic. We yelled at it and said synthetic, whatever it says. The fact is, if it's not full synthetic, if it has carbon in it, it will turn the gas a deeper color. The lighter the color, the less carbon you have in it. Okay? So, now, let's address something I just said a while ago. Okay, that's probably kind of controversial to some folks. I said this ethanol is not what causes damage in the engine. Okay, there's two things that cause damage in the engine. Whoop, two things. Whoop, whoop, whoop. Okay, first of all would be the amount of carbon in the engine. Okay, so here's what we start with. I'm going to take this out of the way here, just so we get rid of that. Okay, tell you what we'll do is we'll take this one out of the way. And we'll put this one here, because that one has more carbon. Okay, so let's break some gas down. Okay, so you got clear gas. we add a little ethanol to the gas. Then we add a little oil with carbon. And then, friends and neighbors, we add this. What is that? All right, now if you look really close in there, you see that at the bottom? That's not dirt. You see that floating around down there? Those would be very, very thick chemicals. Okay, now, this is in its purest form. If I do a carburetor treatment or something like this, I'd literally put 3 drops of this in a lawnmower gas tank, and if it can snap out of it, 3 drops of that will clean the entire carburetor and make it like brand new. If this doesn't fix it, nothing will. This is in its purest form the additives, the cleaners, the yada 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 that they put into this to help things run better. All right, this, friends and neighbors, is what does the damage. This is some strong stuff. Okay, so all that stuff that you see at the bottom down there, and again, that's not dirt. I mean, I don't think you can, maybe I can get you close enough where you can see, but it's definitely not dirt down there. Those are hard abrasive chemicals, and I can even shake this up, kind of mix it around. Oh yeah, you can see them in there. Those are hard abrasive chemicals that get in, and they help to scrub and clean everything. The official name of that is ethylene glycol monobutyl ether. And so there's a lot of scary words in there. Ether, you know, butyl. So it's this right here. And if you've ever looked at old gas, it has kind of a brownish yellow tint to it, and it's not from the water in the fuel, because the water eventually, let me tell you, will eventually evaporate. Okay, I'm going to grab something here. We're just going to move you over here for just a second, because I want to show you. Oh, I hope I got it here. This is just, here we go. All right, so I'm kind of being a little bit mysterious here. I forgot to bring this over here before I started this video. But this, now here, I'm going to hold this up to the camera, because this is a trick question. Do you recognize that? You know what that is? That, friends and neighbors, I got a chainsaw right up here. This is a CS51. That is the fuel line that I dug out of here. Not even kidding you. That fuel line was stretched all the way down the tank. Had literally, and I didn't smash it up or anything. This is how it came out. It was basically it was a long string, and it just ran from the top up there. You can see where it was at right here. And the fuel filter was still intact, but the fuel line was completely destroyed. Now, here's why this is my proof to you that the ethanol, which obviously is water, does not do this. Okay, because if your ethanol was going to damage things like that, ethanol is mostly water. Well, water's not going to do that. But this, with those powerful chemicals in there, well, that would certainly do that. That would eat that stuff up. I mean, in fact, I don't really touch this stuff with my fingers, because, well, it's starting to, it's starting to do something to that already. Yeah, this is powerful stuff. I've touched this with my fingers before, and it doesn't burn right away, and I got pretty tough fingers. But if you don't wash your fingers, real quick, you'll get like little round chemical burns on here. Seems like it'd be a great way to burn your fingerprints off. That's not giving any ideas, but okay, so here is the fuel that came out of that old C51. All right, now this stuff is just some nasty, soupy stuff. And you can see it. It's still retained its buoyancy. I mean, it's still liquid. It's not gelled up or anything like that. It's obviously got some oil in it. But as you can expect, it smells bad. It smells a lot like turpentine. But you can kind of see. I mean, obviously these are two different colors. I'm not going to tell you the moon's made of cheese, but if I hold these three things together, you would never guess that this used to be this. But you could convince me that if you let this sit long enough and put a little oil in here and leave it sit for, I don't know, 20 plus years, it might look like that. Okay, so let me get you turned around. All right, so, all right, Papa, so wrap this thing up. What's the point? Okay, I'm going to tell you out there the exact same thing I tell my customers. All right, so first of all, when it comes to two-cycle oil, the very best way, I mean, if you've got, again, I'm not going to mention any names, but let's just say you've got 3 cases of a certain kind of two-cycle oil laying around. And you say, well, shoot, I got all this oil. Now you're telling me don't use it. All right, now I'm not saying that. What I'm saying is, I don't care what kind of oil it is. All right, I don't care if it's heavy carbon based, if it's light carbon based, whatever. All you guys are going to run your equipment in different ways. All right, and here's the part of this that kind of burns me up when people start talking about, oh, this is the best oil, or no, that's the best oil. The fact of the matter is, this video and me are made in the United States of America. All right, and there are some substandard products that are sold in the United States of America. However, when it comes to things like oil and gas, everyone uses that. All right, and so the point is, if I went out and I just hired some knucklehead that didn't know anything about oil, and I said, listen, I want you to start making two-cycle oil. I don't care what you make it out of. Just make it, sell it. There are laws in this country that would shut that down. Okay? You might make some, but you're not going to make it for a very long time. All right? You're going to put that in something, somebody's going to blow up something, and then it's going to be all over the news, and I'm going to be famous. All right? It's not going to last that long. Okay? So when you're talking about what's the best kind of oil, or what's the good, shut up. I could scream to you about AMSOIL all day long. All right, and it's good stuff, and it's the best as far as I've seen. Now, if you've got something better, and you know of something better, and you can prove it to me, leave it down there in the comments. Let's talk. But in my 30 plus years of working on small engines and dealing with two-cycle and going to college and all that kind of stuff for viscosity, for viscosity studies, it seems to be the stuff that really holds up. All right. Now, I said at the start of this video, I don't always recommend that, okay? Because some guys just don't care about spending a little, I mean, the AMSOIL does cost you a little bit. Full synthetic oil is going to cost you a little more, all right? But if you're going to just put gas in a saw, run it through it, and that's it, and you want to save some money, take some of that, take some two-cycle oil, I don't give a damn, put it in there, run it, All right. Now, is it going to blow it up? Of course, it's not going to blow it up. No, if you mix it properly, it's not going to blow it up. Is it harmful in the long term? It can be. But here's what I want to get across right here. Of all the confusion about what kind of gas to use, what kind of two-cycle oil to use, this is the best and that's the best, I got one thing to tell you. When you get done, you take your muffler. Well, I grabbed the wrong muffler. You know what I just said there? Take the screen off your muffler. And after you've ran, if you've got 10 cases of, Joe Blow oil, and you've been running that, and you say, well, it seems to suit me okay. All right, well, then that's probably the oil that you should use. But do this. Go out, if you've not done this recently, go out, there'll be 2 little screws on your exhaust. Some have 1 screw, some have 2. Look on the muffler and look for those little 2 screws and take those off. Now, on that one I just showed you right there, it doesn't have it. So no sense in trying. Oh, right here. Here's one. Right next to me, a rusty old muffler. Alright. This thing is dirty, filthy. Sorry, of course I never prepare for these damn videos. Okay. So, you see right there? You see that? Okay, that's a spark screen. Okay. Now, take the front cover. This one here, you got to take the front cover off. But just about every saw is going to have one of these. Look for that screen on your muffler. Take that screen out and look at it. Okay? If you look at it and you go, man, that damn thing, I can't even see through it. You're using the wrong oil. All right? That's raw carbon that you got building up in there. And the back pressure is gonna suck that carbon off of there, and it's going to go right into the damn cylinder at some point, and you're going to chew up the cylinder. All right, I see so many saws come in and they go, I don't know, I've been using blah blah oil for years, and all of a sudden this. Okay, well, maybe they changed their formulation. Maybe whatever, I don't know. Maybe you changed the way you're operating it. Maybe you're getting older and you don't go wee all the time. Maybe you give that saw a breather a little bit, and you're not cooking that stuff off of there. Okay, but the point is, you shouldn't have to cook that off. All right, the flash point of the oil should be low enough that it cooks off anyway. All right, it just goes. Full synthetic oil, you're just not going to have to worry about it ever. So, but at the end of the day, that's what it's all about right there. Okay, so I mean, obviously, things are going to run better for an application than other things. Okay, if you get clear fuel with no water in it and no ethanol in it, of course you got to have better results. You got one less thing in there. Okay, you use 2-cycle oil. All right, you use a thicker oil that's got more carbon, you're going to have more shit in it. Pardon the French, but this video is not made for kids. But so the more carbon you put in your oil, more carbon you're going to leave behind in the engine. The more stuff you have in the gas, the more stuff you're going to leave behind as it burns through. Okay? So, yes, clear fuel is the best. All right? I will go down and say that. Now, do I have to use that all the time? Oh, absolutely not. No, absolutely not. I don't tell anybody only burn clear fuel. All right, and mostly because if you're just burning it through, if you're an arborist or a woodcutter that's just getting started, and you say, boy, you know what? I can't even find clear fuel around here. I got to drive 100 miles to get clear fuel, and then I got to pay, $4 a gallon more for that stuff than what. Good grief! I'm spending $200 just extra just to run clear fuel. Stop it. Now, what you ought to do: go out, get some clear fuel, get some full synthetic oil, I would prefer AMSOIL, but if you choose to get another full synthetic oil, make sure that it's full synthetic oil. Not this half synthetic or quarter synthetic. I don't even. I'm an expert when it comes to oil, and I can tell you this much: half synthetic. I don't even know what that is. It's this is half a cowboy hat. What the heck does that mean? No idea. It's either a cowboy hat or it's not. So, so full synthetic's got full synthetic doesn't have carbon. Non-synthetic has carbon. And if you guys want to clear that up for me, hang on a second, got to decline a call here. All right, so if you want to clear that up for me, I'll be more than happy to hear you down in the comments section. And I know some people are going to strongly disagree with me, and that's okay. But I've noticed this much, that some people will come in and they say they're burning the exact same gas, the exact same oil, and that screen in there is clean as a whistle. Other people burn the exact same gas, exact same oil, and you can't see through this thing. So it depends on how you're operating your equipment and what you're doing with it. Now, if you're just burning that through, great. Use whatever the hell you want to use. I don't give a damn. What I was going to say a while ago, and I got sidetracked here, but if it is costing you too much to run that clear fuel, get you some clear fuel, put it in a container, leave it by itself, mark it clear fuel, leave it by itself, and then if you're running the regular fuel and you're running regular oil, fine, whatever. Okay, but then every once in a while, run a few tanks of that clear fuel with some full synthetic oil through there, just to flush everything out, get all the crud through there, get all the stuff out of there. It's not going to come back, you know. It's not like you're going to run non-clear fuel through there, and then you run the clear fuel through and you go, oh, geez, now I've just cleaned everything. All that crud's going to go into. No, all you've got is a carburetor with a very, very tiny hole. Okay, the thing you truly got to worry about is that carbon buildup. All right. So if you run a lot of carbon-based oil, I don't care whose oil it is, I don't care what brand it is, you run a lot of carbon-based fuel, you're going to get a lot of carbon left over. If you run a lot of regular fuel, you're going to get a lot of water left over. And if you run that fuel with that water in there, and you run a half tank, and then you put that thing you put that saw or whatever up, and you leave it all winter, well, chances are it's not going to start in the summertime, in the springtime, or a few months. After 30 days, that fuel's going to start breaking down, and it's going to be more water than fuel. So anyway, I know this has been a long video, and I apologize for being so long-winded. I'm always long-winded, but I kind of wanted. A lot of people come in, they ask me, you know, what should I do for all this stuff? And boy, because around here, clear fuel is really, really, really expensive. And so people say, boy, I tell you what, I can't even afford to cut wood if I'm going to use that stuff. You know, but I don't want to sacrifice my saw either. You know, well, it's not like if you put this in here that, you know, everything will just blow up. You know, is it good for it to use it all the time? Of course not. But can you? Yes, you can. It's not going to do any immediate damage to the saw, but just keep in mind what it is that you're using. You know, just like anything else. You know, you put gas in your car, but every once in a while, maybe get high ethanol put, or not high ethanol, but high octane put in there. You know, just to clean things out a little bit. You know, put a fuel treatment in there, or something like that. You know, just clean things out a little bit. You know, and any good mechanic will tell you that. You know, but you don't want to put high octane in all the damn time. You know, what good is that? It's a waste of money, and you're not going to go any faster. You know, and you're just going to re-clean the same dish over and over again without eating on it. Is basically what you're doing. So I'm going to get out of here. I'm going to let you start screaming at me because I know there's going to be a lot of people that's going to be commenting on these, saying, "Oh no, that's all wrong." But this is just what my schooling and my knowledge of two-cycle oils and my knowledge of fuel has taught me. And I love everybody, and I love everybody who disagrees with me too, and maybe I'll learn something from you if you leave it down there in the comments, so complain all you want to. I'd love to hear it. One more thing I want to say. When you're watching these videos, whether it's my video or anybody else's, always take everything with a little grain of salt, okay? Because this is what works for me. This is what works for the customers that I see. Okay, now does it work for you in Minnesota, in Texas, in Florida, in Timbuktu, Alabama? You know, maybe not. I'm in the Northwest. Maybe everything I'm telling you here just does not match for the experiences that you see. So whenever you're watching my videos or you're watching somebody else's videos, always keep that in mind, that this is the opinion of the person who has said, this works. I see it work. Well, just because I see it work in the Northwest does not mean that you're going to see it work the exact same way somewhere else. All right. So use your noggin. Okay. Take all this with a grain of salt. Take all this with some education. Watch some other videos. Take that with some education. But use your noggin. Make up your own mind. Okay. Take little pieces of what I tell you, like this here, check that, and take everything else and say, okay, now that works for him, but I'm gonna change that up a little bit. And nothing wrong with that at all. All right. Got any questions or anything? Leave them down there in the comments. You can zip over there to our website, www.papashop01.com. Other than that, I'm gonna get out of here. I'm gonna get my day started and put all this stuff away. And like I always tell you, be careful out there. Happy motoring.